Hi, on behalf of members of the Imexpharm family. Today we will join an exciting journey. A visit to Imexpharm's eu-gmp factories. Up to now, Imexpharm has had several clusters of factories meeting who-gmp and eu-gmp standards. On my hands are medicines produced by eu-gmp standard factories of Imexpharm. This is significant, as the product is as comparable as it was made in Europe. Therefore, eu-gmp factories has stricter standards for personnel and machinery than who-gmp. With more than 40 years of development, Imexpharm is proud to be the investor in eu-gmp standard factory with the most production lines in Vietnam. Why is the production cost that meets eu-gmp standards more expensive than who-gmp that Imexpharm still invests in? Let's find out the difference between who-gmp and eu-gmp factories through the following points. Evaluation criteria. Software. Hardware. How are GMP factories assessed? who-gmp was written by the World Health Organization Production Expert Group and is intended for developing countries. Local experts assess that the factory meets who-gmp standards, and the requirements will be flexibly applied depending on the country's scientific and technological circumstances. Meanwhile, eu-gmp factories are required to comply with the strict standards of the health ministries of countries in the European community. Suppose that as manufacturing drugs sold in France, the factory must comply with eu-gmp assessed by the French National Health Agency. In order to meet eu-gmp standards, the drug factory must be registered for circulation in the country where circulation is allowed. Here in France, eu-gmp requires applying advanced and latest science technology advances to produce the best quality drugs. Every 3 years, an EU expert will assess the status of compliance with the new regulations. Therefore, the eu-gmp factory must always update, monitor, and upgrade its machinery and human systems. Next is the software. The software includes process, records management, data, and staff. The eu-gmp product quality control, monitoring, and control process is strict and estimated 3 times higher than who-gmp. How about personnel? To be able to work in the eu-gmp factory, each employee needs to meet the following requirements: having the technical expertise and solid practical experience to handle increasingly new and demanding requirements, able to use foreign languages, English, well to communicate directly with foreign experts, have a spirit of learning, constantly proactively update new knowledge, standards, and regulations from Europe, ability to handle situations flexibly. Finally, the hardware. Hardware includes plant, machinery, and materials. An eu-gmp factory's investment cost is always 30 to 40% higher than who-gmp. Eu-gmp factory was built under European experts' advice, design, and supervision. The plant cannot be operated if the requirements are unmet. The factory must meet the following requirements. European standards. Preventing cross-contamination ensures the best working conditions for workers as well as product quality. Fresh air system. Waste and exhaust emissions must be treated up to standards before being discharged into the outside environment. Machines also need to ensure that they are imported from reputable brands according to European standards and come with a full set of records. Inspection papers are also much more complicated than those used at factories meeting WHO standards. GMP. Prove that the materials used are absolutely safe for the product. Raw materials. Raw materials must meet the following 3 criteria to go into production. Clear origin, meeting European standards or having a protection certificate from Europe. Raw materials must be thoroughly tested before production. As a result, the raw material supply chain is guaranteed to the manufacturer from the very beginning. Thus, the operating costs and standards of people working at the eu-gmp factory are much higher than who-gmp, leading to higher product costs. Still, quality, efficiency, and safety are outstanding. Imexpharm owns 4 factories, of which 3 meet eu-gmp standards with 11 production lines for oral and injectable drugs. IMP2 Vinlock High-Tech Antibiotic Factory. Constructed in 2018 with an investment capital of 180 billion BND, the factory received the eu-gmp certificate issued by the Portuguese Ministry of Health in September 2018. IMP2 specializes in producing non-sterile drugs belonging to the penicillin group, including hard capsules, tablets, film-coated tablets, and powdered drugs, with a design capacity of 250 million units per annum. IMP3 Bin Dong Factory Cluster, including 2 cephalosporin factories, certified to meet eu-gmp standards in 2016 by the Spanish Food and Drug Administration, with a total investment of 163 billion VND. The factory has a capacity of 15 to 20 million bottles, 200 million tablets per year, and penicillin 5 to 7 million bottles per year. IMP4 Bin Dong High-Tech Factory, inaugurated in 2019 with an investment of 470 billion BND. The factory is considered the brightest star of Imexpharm so far. The factory meets eu-gmp standards in early 2022. IMP4 has the most advanced technologies in the pharmaceutical industry in Vietnam, such as the line of freeze-dried powder for injection for both steroid and non-steroid drug groups and blow-fill-seal (BFS) injection lines. These new technologies help the transportation, storage, and use of products be safer. As a result, the effectiveness of the drug for the patient is maximized. By the investment, as well as the sense of responsibility, Imexpharm is highly regarded as one of the best and the most prestigious groups in the Vietnamese pharmaceutical market today. As initially being committed, Imexpharm is proud of its mission to provide highly effective solutions for public health.